Look, we all have goals, whether it's professional or personal, but how many times have you just felt stuck? Like you're running, but you're not actually going anywhere. That you're working so hard on your goals, but you don't seem to be making any progress. It's an incredibly common issue that people run into. And when people start plateauing on their progress, that's when the feelings of motivation start to go away. And this is a really dangerous point because people can really fall off of their progress that they're trying to pursue because they get demotivated and they stop working on it altogether. So in today's video, I wanted to cover some practical things that you can use to help you to stay motivated and keep consistently working on your goals. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow, and I make videos on self-development tips that I wish I had known when I was younger. All of these videos center around how to improve your life through your confidence, capabilities, and overall happiness. If that sounds interesting to you, let's go ahead and jump into the video. The first thing that I want to acknowledge here is that progress is very rarely a straight line, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. That when they first get started, they're really motivated, and typically you'll start seeing progress on whatever it is that you're working on really quickly because you're new to it. So of course the stuff that you're trying to learn is really not that complex, and you can start seeing progress fairly quickly. But at some point, you're going to slow down a little bit, and a lot of people get really frustrated when they hit that plateau. But you got to remember that this is normal. It is all right to hit these points where you kind of stall a little bit because you're struggling with a certain concept or a skill or something along those lines. The key here is that you just need to be consistent with it, and you need to keep going and pushing through that plateau. Whether that's reframing your mindset or shifting your goals a little bit, this is normal. So just understand that when you hit these plateaus, it's okay, and don't let yourself stop altogether. This is how you end up failing to reach your goals. One of the best ways that you can help yourself to push through this plateau and this lack of motivation is by changing your mindset to focus on different outcomes. So rather than focusing on the outcome-based goals, it's better for you to focus on process-based goals because these are going to be what help you to drive completion and drive you towards your actual end goal. It's really difficult when you make outcome-based goals to know whether or not you actually have control over that goal. For example, a lot of people, whenever they're starting on social media, will set a goal of hitting a certain subscriber count. But the thing about that is you really have no control over whether someone chooses to subscribe or not. What you do have control over is the quality of your videos, how often you're posting, and how you're engaging with your audience. By controlling those factors and doing everything that you can to improve them, that's going to be what pushes you towards that outcome goal. So try to shift your mindset and focus on the process. And by doing that, you might find that you are actually enjoying the process that much more, which is just another way that's going to help you to move through this plateau when you actually enjoy the struggle somewhat. Next up, you're going to want to make sure that you still take time to celebrate the small wins throughout your process. It's a really common mistake that people don't take the time to celebrate certain benchmarks, and they end up getting burnt out on whatever it is that they're pursuing. I'll talk about personal finance for a second. I listened to a podcast called Bigger Pockets, and one of the biggest things that they talk about on there is that people will commonly reach their financial independence goal, or like this amount of money that they want, but they didn't really enjoy life along the way, and then they kind of feel lost once they've reached it. This can sometimes lead to people feeling depressed and burnt out because they feel like they kind of lost their purpose in life. So what is commonly advised is that they take time to step away from the intense saving of trying to reach financial independence to celebrate certain benchmarks. And that's something that they determine with their partner and for themselves, whether that's like for every $10,000 of savings or $100,000, that's up to the individual. But taking time to celebrate those wins is another way that you're going to help motivate yourself because you've got some small benchmark that you're working towards rather than this huge goal that you're not going to let yourself celebrate until you achieve it. Sometimes these goals take a long amount of time. So if you don't give yourself time to celebrate those small wins, you're setting yourself up for burnout, especially when you start to hit those plateaus or those times where you really just have to push through and grind. The next tip I'm going to give is going to be get an accountability partner, because this is something that has helped me a lot personally, especially when it comes to the gym. It can be really difficult to keep pushing through on a goal, especially if you've had a long day and you really would rather just relax instead. But by setting yourself up with some form of an accountability partner, you are then also disappointing them if you don't follow through. By setting yourself up with an accountability partner, you're going to potentially prevent that. And that's because if you don't follow through on your goal, like we'll go back to our example of the gym, if you don't show up for the workout, then you are also impacting that other person and potentially disappointing them. So a lot of people tend to be more motivated when their actions could potentially impact someone else versus how it impacts them. Get yourself an accountability partner. It will help to keep you on track when you'd rather just do something else. For instance, Thomas Frank talked a little bit about a Twitter setup that he had. When he was younger, he used to have a problem with hitting snooze on his alarm clock. So to prevent himself from doing that, he set up an automatic tweet that would go out if he didn't stop it. This setup made it so he had to get up and turn off that tweet in order to prevent it from getting set out, which helped negate this bad habit. I'm sure that you could possibly come up with tons of other creative options for doing this, but again, just find some way of having accountability, and that's going to help you to push through those moments that you'd really rather not work on your goal. And finally, I think you should always take the time to review your goals and potentially reassess them. The reason this is important is because your life and you as a person will change over time. The goals that you had even a year ago could be drastically different from your goals today. I remember when I was 19, I had very different goals from today. I wanted to be a chemical engineer working for an oil and gas company. But through my time through college, as I gained education and more understanding of what I actually wanted instead of just pursuing money blindly, obviously my goals changed. I changed to wanting to be involved in biopharmaceuticals so I could actually help people. And I also wanted to make something for other people through this YouTube channel so that they could also potentially learn and grow together. 5 years ago, this is not what I'd ever thought I would be doing. So take some time to sit down, assess your goals and also your life situation and determine, do these goals still serve me and the life that I actually want? This will obviously take some time because you'll need to assess what you value out of life and then try to align your goals with that. Another way you can assess your goals is like, are they realistic for the timeline that you set them for? A lot of times people beat themselves up because they aren't going to achieve their goal in the timeline that they set. But they didn't take into account that the timeline that they set really wasn't a realistic timeline. This is a really common problem for people who are beginners to something and they set a really lofty goal, expecting to make progress quickly. There is no shame in having to reassess and adjust your goals, so don't be judgmental for yourself if you do. By reassessing your goals and reframing them to be something that you can actually pursue and that is serving you, this is going to help you to move through those plateaus and continue to make some form of progress towards the life that you want. But that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. Just to summarize it for you really quickly, plateaus are normal. You should learn to enjoy the process and set your goals for the process and not the outcome. And then you should also make sure you're taking time to celebrate the small wins. If you're struggling to maintain your work and focus, you can get an accountability partner. And at the end, you can also reassess and change your goals depending on what your life is and what you value. Hopefully y'all found the information in this video to be helpful or informative. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join me along in this self-improvement journey. If you're interested in more videos like this one where I talk about goal-related topics, be sure to check out this video right here where I talk about designing your life. If you're more interested in my most recent stuff, be sure to check out this video right here. But until the next time, this is Tyler Warlow, signing off.